Although electric vehicles, EVs, may seem a little intimidating to the uninitiated, in very basic terms, they are exactly like your mobile phone, only much heavier and with more speakers. Both have rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, and if you want them to work, they need to be plugged into an external source for recharging. Today, we'll talk about everything you need to know about charging your EV. Don't forget to click on the thumbs up and subscribe buttons. Thank you. Both EVs and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, PHEVs, cars that have a battery-powered electric motor, and an internal combustion engine, ICE, require regular charging. Although PHEVs are quicker to charge since they have smaller batteries, due to the fact that the drivetrain also includes the aforementioned ICE. The type of electricity. The first thing to know is that EVs can be charged using either alternating current, AC, or direct current, DC electricity. The former is the common type of electricity you get from the grid, while the latter is a more high-voltage variant. Rechargeable EV batteries can only store DC electricity, which means they need an onboard charger to convert AC to DC. Type of connectors. In a perfect world, there would be a standard type of connector for EVs, but unfortunately, that's not the case quite yet. Again, you could think of this as the difference between chargers for Samsung and Apple phones. The most common type for cars, however, is the Type 2 or Mennekes connector. This can charge using AC, but if it has been configured as a CCS, combined charging system combo, it will also be able to handle high-voltage DC charging. The Type 2 connector can handle charging EVs on AC at up to 22.1 kilowatts and DC at up to 350 kilowatts. But it will ultimately depend on how many kilowatts your EV can handle. Most PHEVs can take a maximum of AC speed of 7.2 kilowatts, while EVs can take higher than that. Most EVs can accept DC charging from 50 kilowatts to upwards of 200 kilowatts, although the lower end of that range is more common. Tesla models have what looks like a Type 2 connector, but with a slight advantage. They can also charge on Tesla's supercharger charging network, whereas other EVs have been locked out. Elon Musk has said he plans to unlock the chargers for other EVs in late 2022. The CHAdeMO connector, which is strictly used for DC charging, is not very common, with the Nissan Leaf currently the only EV model in the country that has one. The Leaf also carries the Type 2 connector. The Type 1 J-plug AC connector is the standard in the US, but is far less common in Australia. You'll only find it on older EV models, although the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEVs still carry them, along with the CHAdeMO connector. How are EV charging stations powered? EV charging currently relies on the electricity grid, but the grid as we know it is changing. Renewable energy currently contributes almost 50% of electricity across the national electricity market at certain times, and by 2025, the proportion of renewable energy in the grid is expected to increase significantly. This means EVs could eventually be run on zero emissions, making them an attractive transport solution. People often ask me what the move to electric will mean when it comes to increased pressure on the electricity grid. Le explains, smart charging will optimize the energy grid by shifting EV charging demand away from peak periods and absorbing excess renewable energy. Smart charging means EV owners are getting the best charging price by allowing energy retailers to manage charging times on the owner's behalf to optimize charge to off-peak periods. Smart charging is a huge advantage. With petrol, drivers pay a set price, but EV drivers will have the opportunity to schedule their charging to off-peak periods or draw on excess solar. This is achieved through virtual power plants like Origin Loop, which use technology to bring together individual energy sources and distribute power to homes and businesses on a large scale. Where to charge EV? According to Origin's EV smart charging trial, 80% of charging will occur at home or work, as this is where we spend most of our time. Le says many businesses are leading the way by engaging Origin 360 EV fleet services to install their own charging infrastructure. In our trial, we found many businesses motivated to transition to EV fleets as they saw it was the right thing to do. The reduced operating costs were a bonus, but the key driver for businesses right now is leadership. Businesses have a significant role to play, as they are responsible for close to half of new car purchases. According to Le, businesses are beginning to recognize EVs as the cornerstone of future fleet requirements, and employees will soon expect EV charging stations at their workplace. However, Le says businesses should not be left on their own to get their plans into action. We know there are real-world barriers for businesses implementing EV fleets. Some industries worry EVs will not be fit for purpose, while others are concerned about organizing home chargers and reimbursements for employees. Origin 360 EV fleet management is designed to combat these barriers, with a personalized plan of action to make the transition for businesses as smooth as possible. How long does it take to charge? If you use a standard wall socket, you're looking at getting about 10 kilometers of driving range for every hour you charge. Times that by 3 if you're using a wall box charger. If you're using a public AC charger, expect the following. Depending on the EV's maximum charging rate, approximately 15 kilometers of range per hour if the charging rate is between 3.3 and 3.7 kilowatts, approximately 25 kilometers of range per hour if the charging rate is 6.6 kilowatts, approximately 30 kilometers of range per hour if the charging rate exceeds 7 kilowatts. As for DC fast chargers, the kilowatts and kilometer numbers should correspond, i.e., 50 kilowatts charging rate delivers 50 kilometers of range every 10 minutes of charging. 170 kilowatts charging rate delivers 175 kilometers of range every 10 minutes of charging, and so on. Cost of charging. The cost of how many kilowatt hours to charge your EV breaks down like this. Level 1 home charging costs approximately 15 cents to 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Level 2 AC public charging costs approximately 20 cents to 25 cents per kilowatt hour. And Level 3 public DC fast charging costs approximately 30 cents to 60 cents per kilowatt hour. Some public chargers are free, and several EV charger companies supply a certain amount of electricity for nothing. Jolt, for example, offers 7 kilowatt hours free each day, which supplies approximately 45 kilometers of driving range, more than the average commute each day, which is 36.4 kilometers. That's all for today. If you have any thoughts on today's video, you can always leave them in the comments section. Don't forget to leave a like and share it with your friends. You can also subscribe to the channel to get updates on new videos that might interest you. Till next time.